The Book on Rental Property Investing by Brandon Turner. Introduction. Have you ever had one of those small, almost insignificant moments that ends up changing the entire direction of your life? A quiet conversation, a chance encounter, or maybe a fortune cookie. Imagine this. You're 18 years old, standing at the crossroads of your life. You've just graduated high school, and the world is telling you to pick a path, a safe, ordinary path. You're sitting in a dim, all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet with your best friend, talking about the future. He asks you a simple question. As we grow up, do you want to live an ordinary life or an extraordinary one? You think about it. Ordinary seems safe, attainable. So you reply, I'll take an ordinary life. I'm happy with that. You believe you can handle ordinary. You believe you're destined for ordinary. At the end of the meal, the waitress brings the check, along with 2 fortune cookies. You crack yours open and pull out the tiny strip of white paper. And on it, printed in red ink, are 9 words that feel like they were written just for you, in that exact moment. 9 words that stop your heart. There is no such thing as an ordinary life. That exact moment happened to a young man named Brandon Turner, the author of the book we're exploring today, The Book on Rental Property Investing. At the time, Brandon was on the ordinary path himself. He was studying for law school, planning to follow the responsible, predictable route his parents had laid out for him. But that small piece of paper planted a seed. It gave him permission to question the life he was told he should want, and to start searching for the life he actually did want. His search led him to the world of real estate, a world that seemed filled with either get-rich-quick gurus or terrifying stories of failure. But Brandon discovered something else. He found a community of people, on a then-new website called BiggerPockets, who weren't gurus. They were normal people, just like him, who were quietly using real estate not to get rich overnight, but to build something far more valuable, a life of freedom. Today, Brandon Turner is one of the most respected voices in real estate investing, not because he's a billionaire who lives on a private jet, but because he's still that same guy who chose a different path. He took the lessons he learned and built a life where he answers to no one but himself, his family, and his goals. The Book on Rental Property Investing is the roadmap he created along the way. By the end of our time together today, you will understand the 4 hidden wealth generators that make rental properties one of the most powerful financial tools on the planet. And more importantly, you will see that building wealth isn't about being a genius or taking crazy risks. It's about building a system, a simple, repeatable machine that works for you, so you don't have to spend your life working for it. Book summary. So where do we begin this journey? Well, it starts with a question that most people never truly ask themselves: what do you want? It sounds simple, but really think about it. Is it just money, or is it something deeper? Is it the freedom to never miss one of your kids' school plays? Is it the ability to travel and see the world without asking a boss for permission? Is it the peace of mind that comes from knowing your family will be taken care of, no matter what happens to your job? This is what Brandon Turner calls your why. And your why is the fuel for everything that follows. Because let's be honest, investing can be hard. There will be challenges. There will be days you want to quit. And on those days, making $1 million isn't a strong enough reason to keep going. But being there for my family, that's a reason that will get you through anything. Once you have your why, you need a vehicle to get you there. For Brandon, and for millions of others, that vehicle is rental property investing. And the reason it's so powerful isn't what most people think. It's not just about collecting a rent check every month. That's only one piece of the puzzle. The real magic lies in what Brandon calls the 4 wealth generators. If you can understand these 4 principles, you'll understand more about building wealth than 99% of the population. The first, and most obvious, is cash flow. This is the one everyone knows. It's the money left in your pocket each month after you've collected the rent and paid all the bills, the mortgage, taxes, insurance, repairs, everything. Think of it like owning an apple tree. The cash flow is the apples you get to pick and eat every single month. It's your profit, your income. And it's the lifeblood of your investment. Brandon is very clear on this. You should only buy properties that provide positive cash flow from day one. But here's where it gets interesting. The second wealth generator is appreciation. This is the tendency for your property's value to increase over time. So while you're collecting apples every month, the tree itself is growing bigger and more valuable. This happens naturally, through inflation and demand. But savvy investors can also create forced appreciation by making smart improvements, like turning a 2-bedroom house into a 3-bedroom house, instantly increasing its value. The third wealth generator is one that most people completely overlook: loan paydown. When you buy a property with a loan, who pays that loan off every month? You do, but you're using your tenant's rent money to do it. Every single month, a portion of that payment reduces the amount you owe, which means your ownership stake, your equity, grows. It's like your tenant is coming over every day to water your apple tree for you, helping it grow stronger and bigger, without you having to lift a finger. This is a form of automated wealth building, and it happens every single month, silently, in the background. And the fourth wealth generator is tax benefits. The government actually wants people like you to provide housing for the country. To encourage this, they offer incredible tax advantages to real estate investors. You can deduct expenses like mortgage interest, property taxes, and repair costs. But the biggest benefit is something called depreciation. The government lets you deduct a portion of your property's value from your taxes each year, as if the building were wearing out, even if its actual value is going up. This paper loss can often shelter your cash flow, meaning you might pay very little, or even no tax on the profit you're making. It's like the government giving you a special, powerful fertilizer for your apple tree, just as a thank you for growing it. When you combine these four forces, cash flow, appreciation, loan paydown, and tax benefits, you don't just have an investment. You have a powerful wealth-building machine. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, this sounds great, but I've heard horror stories. What about the phone calls at 2 o'clock in the morning to fix a toilet? This is the single biggest fear that keeps people on the sidelines. And Brandon addresses it head-on. He says that the only landlords who are fixing toilets in the middle of the night are the ones who are running their investment like a hobby, not a business. Think about that for a second. A hobbyist reacts to problems. A business owner builds systems to prevent them. A hobbyist treats their tenants like friends and gets walked all over. A business owner has clear rules and enforces them fairly and consistently. A hobbyist gets stressed and burned out. A business owner creates processes that allow them to step away and still make money. This is the most important mindset shift in the entire book. You are not just a landlord, you are the CEO of your own real estate company. And a CEO's job isn't to fix the toilets. It's to build a system that gets the toilets fixed. So, how do you build that system? It starts with a plan. Brandon shares a quote from Alice in Wonderland where Alice asks the Cheshire Cat which way she should go. The cat replies, "That depends a good deal on where you want to get to." Alice says she doesn't much care where, to which the cat says, "Then it doesn't matter which way you go." You are not Alice. You know where you want to go? You have your why. Your plan is the roadmap to get there. It doesn't have to be a fancy, 100-page business plan. It can be a simple document you write for yourself, outlining your goals and the strategy you'll use to achieve them. For example, Brandon lays out a sample plan for how someone could build $1 million net worth in about 7 years. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a simple, methodical process, Buy a small multifamily property that meets certain standards for cash flow and value. Save the cash flow from that property. After a couple of years, use that saved cash flow to buy another one. Repeat this a few times, and then, using a strategy called a 1031 exchange, trade your smaller properties for one larger apartment building. Suddenly, your growth becomes exponential. The key isn't luck or genius, it's a repeatable blueprint. But you can't build a business alone. Every great CEO has a team. Your real estate team isn't about hiring employees, it's about building relationships with key people who will help you succeed. You need a great real estate agent who understands investors, a lender who believes in your vision, and reliable contractors who can do the work you can't. But perhaps the most important team member at the start is a mentor, someone who is a few steps ahead of you and is willing to share their wisdom. You don't find a mentor by asking, "Will you be my mentor?" You find one by being curious, by offering value, and by building a genuine relationship. With your plan and your team in place, it's time to find a property. This is where most people get stuck in analysis paralysis, endlessly searching for the perfect deal. Brandon's approach is a numbers game. He suggests you should aim to look at 100 properties, make offers on 10, and expect to get just one accepted. That means 99% of what you look at won't work out, and that's okay. You're not looking for just any property, you're hunting for a deal that fits your system. How do you know if it's a good deal? You run the numbers. You have to become a master of analysis. Brandon gives you simple rules of thumb to quickly filter out bad deals, like the 50% rule, which assumes that about half your rental income will go toward expenses other than the mortgage. These aren't laws, but quick mental shortcuts. For the deals that pass the initial test, you do a deep dive, calculating every possible expense, vacancy, repairs, capital expenditures like a new roof someday, to find the true cash flow. The core principle is this: you make your money when you buy. You can't turn a bad deal into a good one through wishful thinking. The profit is locked in by the price you pay. But this brings up another huge question. How can I afford to buy a property? I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. This is where creativity comes in. You don't need to be rich to start. You just need to be smart. Brandon introduces the idea of leverage, which is simply using other people's money, usually a bank's, to buy an asset. Instead of saving up $100,000 for a house, you might only need to save $20,000 for a down payment. He then shares two incredibly powerful strategies for people with little cash. The first is house hacking. This is the idea of buying a small multifamily property, a duplex, triplex, or fourplex, living in one unit, and renting out the others. The rent from your tenants can cover most, or even all, of your mortgage. Think about that. You could live for free. All that money you were spending on rent can now be saved and invested in your next property. It's one of the most powerful ways to get started, and because you're living in the property, you can often get a loan with a very low down payment, sometimes as little as 3.5%. The second strategy is what Brandon famously calls the BRRRR method. It's an acronym that stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. Here's how it works. You buy a fixer-upper property at a discount, using short-term money like a private loan or cash. You then renovate it the rehab. Once it's fixed up and looking great, you place a high-quality tenant in it the rent. Now, because you forced appreciation and the property is worth much more, you go to a bank and get a new, long-term loan on it the refinance. If you bought it right, the new loan can be large enough to pay back your original short-term loan and all your rehab costs. You've pulled all your initial investment back out, but you still own a cash-flowing rental property with built-in equity. Then, you take your money and do it again, repeat. It's a way to recycle your capital over and over, acquiring multiple properties without running out of money. Once you own the property, the final piece of the system is management. And this all comes back to that core idea: run it like a business. This means having an ironclad tenant screening process. Brandon says that 90% of your landlord headaches can be eliminated before a tenant even moves in, simply by choosing the right person. This means doing background checks, credit checks, verifying income, and calling past landlords? No exceptions. It also means having clear rules in your lease and enforcing them. What happens when rent is late? You follow your system. You charge the late fee you said you would. You deliver the legal notice you're required to. You don't get emotional. You don't listen to sob stories. You follow the process. It might feel tough at first, but it trains your tenants to respect you and your business. And this leads to one of the most profound lessons in the entire book. Brandon says, if you are unhappy, your system is broken. Read that again. If you are unhappy, your system is broken. If you're stressed about late rent, your rent collection system is broken. Fix it. If you're frustrated with constant repair calls, your maintenance system is broken. Fix it. If you're tired of dealing with tenant drama, your screening system is broken. Fix it. This idea is incredibly empowering. It means that your stress isn't just part of the job. It's a signal that something in your business needs to be improved. And you have the power to improve it. You can create a business that serves your life, not a life that is a slave to your business. Finally, what's the end game? Do you just collect rentals forever? Brandon discusses several exit strategies, but one of the most powerful is the 1031 exchange. This is a section of the tax code that allows you to sell an investment property and defer paying any capital gains taxes, as long as you roll the proceeds into a new, like-kind property of equal or greater value. It's a way to continuously level up your portfolio. You can sell a small, high-maintenance duplex and trade it for a larger, more passive apartment building, all without giving a huge chunk of your profits to the government. You can do this over and over, growing your wealth exponentially. And if you hold those properties until you pass away, your heirs can inherit them at a stepped-up basis, which can wipe away those deferred taxes forever. It's the ultimate strategy for building generational wealth. From a simple fortune cookie to a multi-million-dollar strategy, the journey Brandon Turner lays out is clear. It's a call to stop dreaming about an extraordinary life and to start building the systems that will create it. Commentary. When you step back and look at the book on rental property investing, you realize it's not really a book about houses. It's a book about a mindset. It's a blueprint for designing a life of freedom, and rental properties just happen to be the raw materials. The most powerful lesson, for me, isn't about cash flow formulas or financing tricks. It's the shift from being a passive participant in your own financial life to becoming the active architect of it. Most of us are taught to be employees, to trade our time for money. This book teaches you to become an owner, to build assets that make money for you, whether you're working, sleeping, or on vacation. The idea that if you are unhappy, your system is broken is revolutionary. It applies to so much more than just landlording. It's a philosophy for life. It transforms you from a victim of circumstances into a problem solver. It puts the control back in your hands. Stress is no longer just something to be endured. It's a signal to innovate, to improve, to build a better machine. And that's what this is all about, building a machine. A machine that produces not just income, but time. A machine that gives you options. A machine that lets you say yes to the things that matter and no to the things that don't. So how can you start applying these ideas today, even if you're years away from buying your first property? Here are 3 simple actions you can take. First, practice the mindset shift. For the next week, Every single time you catch yourself thinking or saying the words "I can't," I want you to stop and consciously rephrase the thought as a question. How can I? I can't afford that becomes how can I afford that? I can't find any good deals becomes how can I find good deals? This simple change trains your brain to look for solutions instead of stopping at roadblocks. Second, start building your educational foundation. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Start spending time with the right voices. Dedicate just 15 minutes a day, maybe on your way to school or while you're getting ready in the morning, to listening to a real estate podcast, like the one from BiggerPockets. Immerse yourself in the language and the mindset of investors. You'll be amazed at how quickly you start to think like one. Third, start playing the analysis game. You don't need money to do this. Just go on a website like Zillow or Realtor.com, find a random house for sale in a town you know, and try to run the numbers. Guess what it would rent for? Use the 50% rule to estimate expenses. Figure out a potential mortgage payment. Does it cash flow? It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. The goal is to start building the muscle of looking at a house not just as a place to live, but as a potential asset. The journey to an extraordinary life begins with a single step. And often, that step is simply the decision to see the world differently. This book gives you a new set of eyes to do just that. That was a summary of the book on rental property investing by Brandon Turner. We've certainly covered the big ideas today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary is like looking at a map of the Grand Canyon. The real magic happens when you go there yourself. It's in the quiet moments of the journey, when a particular story or a simple phrase connects with you in a way you didn't expect. This summary is your map, designed to help you decide if this is a journey worth taking. If anything we've talked about today has sparked a curiosity in you, I encourage you to grab a copy of the book. Reading it isn't just learning, it's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see your future. A link to the book is in the description below. Also, if this exploration has brought you any value, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It lets us know we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep growing and building together.